Guys, welcome to Edutainment for Us channel. Today I didn't do my video at 1 and now I'm conducting it currently, of course on 3 or 4 matters, right? So welcome again to our other reaction, political reaction for that case. And of course we are looking into MUTHAMA. Now you remember Kalonzo Musyoka stood to challenge Ruto on matters taking money from America and on his promises. He indicated that the president was trying to be kind of a liar, a serial liar. And the fact that he cannot make it to do the developments required because the money at hand is not actually enough. Kalonzo also expressed the worry over the promises on projects that may not be accomplished because the government does not have money. And he also said that in case it accomplishes, then it will have used money unconstitutionally. Who is right, who is wrong? Let's know about it. As I get to bring the speech that MUTHAMA gave, and now what I wonder is Kalonzo Musyoka and MUTHAMA come from the same place. Does MUTHAMA have the interest of Kenyans, or is he just trying to use it as a way to actually prove otherwise? I've always said that in Kenya, nobody can cheat me, they're not tribal. Actions speak more than words. Some people are there mentioning regions, but then some people are there also favoring regions. Who is better? I don't consider any of them being better, right? So, I don't know what you think, but when it comes to Kenya and you go deeper into analysis, of course, an analysis was done recently, and it was quite clear that there are some places which have been marginalized or rather left in the dark. They are not considered when it comes to positions or something like that. So let's just check on something here. I want us to check onto it. Umeitwa? Sawa.
Tuna shida na Katoliki, tuna shida na jeshi la wokovu. Sasa hii undini yetu tuanze hapa. Sisi ni wana AIC. Wapi? Hapa ni AIC na hatutaki mtu mwingine. Hii matanga ni AIC, hatutaki ni baridi nje. Mkienda kwa matanga mnasema nani mwingine hapa ambaye anatoka kanisa lingine aje hapa aombe. Uhuru unaingia. Tunajihisi kwamba damu ya Yesu haikuja kwa ukabila, lakini imekuja kwa sababu ya kutuunganisha sisi kama Wakristo. Sasa ukianza Reverend Christian, ukianza mimi ni AIC tumoya tubingetie mendo mweya kwa haza luketie azute yodhai unaikuwa Yesu anakuya moyo dai mwendi. Tulikuwa na Yesu wapi akakwambia wenye kufunga macho ndio wataenda na wenye kufungua wataenda. Wewe fanya mema na hiyo ingine uachie Mungu. Kwa hivyo Dennis, careful, hata wale nyinyi mnataka viti ya MCA. Wachaneni hiyo maneno. Mnataka mtajaribu mpaka Yesu arudi mke. Okay, that's it. I'm telling you, kubali maneno yangu katai. Katika siasa yetu ya Kenya leo kuna wanaume sasa wamejitosa uwanjani ndani ya kiti cha rais, lakini kuna mmoja ambaye upende usipende amepita wale wengine mbio na upatikani, mpaka wanaotafuta na yeye watafute mbinu mpya. Sasa wewe unaenda na mmoja wao na wewe anasema na kuunga mkono na anasimama anasema mimi tumekubaliana na fulani kwa sababu tutamfanya rais. Sikia, kiti ya gavana Nairobi yetu, kiti ya seneta yetu, women sijui wabunge 75 ya Wiper ni 10, sijui ni Wiper au ni nini. Haya MCS sijui ni ngapi. Sasa wewe jiulize, ni mjinga gani Mkenya ataamka aende akapige kura katika sanduku namna hiyo ambaye anajua kwamba viti vimeenda na mtu fulani na watu wake?
Sasa hii baada watu wanataka wasaidizi kuacha, wengine wanaota jua.
Nyinyi mkiombea Kalonzo muambie aokoke na fikira. Wacha kuitisha kura kwanza. Na mimi najua hapa mtasema mwana nunji, yes. lakini lazima mumuombea bandirike kwa fikra, ajue Kenya ni kubwa.
All right, guys. So you had Muthama, right? So Muthama is coming out to attack Kalonzo Musyoka, and possibly this is the wheelbarrow that somebody had been talking about, right? And that is Gachagua. So into politics, of course, when you look at regions, we have people who emerge to talk for the government just because they know it is easy for them to be nominated or rather be appointed. So Muthama has to come out and prove a point against Kalonzo Musyoka so that in case the government again UDA wins, then he is safe. No wonder you can see he's coming out to shambuk Kalonzo Musyoka in the open. What is his argument? His argument is Kalonzo Musyoka is not conducting national politics but tribal politics, which I'm not sure about because in Kenya, as far as we talk about being safe from talking about tribes, you've heard Muthama himself communicating in Kikamba, or did I not? I thought I heard so. So the fact that you're speaking even in your mother tongue to your people already communicates something about you. That's what I understand. Away from just talking about regions, you already are tribal when you're speaking in your mother tongue, and you know that place possibly the news people and even Kenyans at large will listen to you. And away from that, I don't actually disagree with people speaking their mother tongue, but then I'm looking at this aspect of Kenyans actually using this tribal narrative, which you have gone beyond it, because there is no way I'll be born a Luya and say that I'm not. And again, if I go to talk to my people in Luya land, then I'll speak in Luya, right? Let's move away from there. But now where I begin to have a problem with leaders is they keep maybe shambuking or rather attacking other leaders, but then the reality is they are very tribal even in their actions. Like when they come to appointments of jobs, very tribal. Somebody picks 90% from their tribe, 10% from other tribes. Now, what is that if not tribalism? And I think that is the worst tribalism than even just talking about it. Anyway, we should be growing beyond tribal politics, but I don't know how soon Kenya will grow beyond that. So, for Muthama to have come out and attacked Kalonzo Musyoka, who has been endorsed, much of endorsed in the opposition, I can say, that communicates a volume to us. And of course, we saw even during by-election, the people of Ukambani are not working as a team. We have seen clear divisions. We saw Mutuse, for example, and others around there. They were actually fighting on a different front for the government, possibly. When you look on the other side, of course, we have Mutula Kilonzo, we have Kalonzo Musyoka, we have Wavinya Ndeti, among others, all right? So, I just don't understand what to say here, but the reality is that these attacks we are seeing waking up in different zones, whether it's Kakamega, whether it's Nyanza or wherever, it confirms the aspect of wheelbarrows, okay? There are several wheelbarrows that will be planted all over the place to confuse and ensure that maybe the government wins. That's what I can see. Because if Muthama comes out to say that our president is less tribal, even if it's tribal, he doesn't say it. Must somebody say to prove that they are tribal? It is not through speaking. Even in our actions, we can look at different things surrounding someone for us to know whether they are tribal or not. And I think for me personally, the tribalism that I hate most is whereby you are not telling me, but you are still hiring your people more, favoring them, giving them opportunities against others. So you are not just practicing tribalism, but you are also practicing favorism and discrimination of others, among other things, right? And that leads to other communities being eliminated from growth. So let's check something here.
Ya kuleta siasa za Kenya. Na sio kura ya Mkikuyu inaweza kumfanya rais. Sio kura ya Mkamba inaweza kumfanya rais. Ni kura za Wakenya. Kenyatta tulipompigia kura, tumempiga kama Wakenya. Hata kama Wakikuyu wamepiga wengi, mimi najihisi kwamba Kenyatta alichaguliwa na Wakenya. Na alikuwa rais wa Wakenya kwa sababu alichaguliwa na Wakenya. Moi alipoingia na akaitisha kura, mimi najihisi kwamba Moi alipigiwa kura na Wakenya, lakini sio Wakalenjin. akaingia mzee Kibaki. Sisi wote, mimi bali nasimama, nilikuwa naongea kwa nguvu sana nikisema Kibaki tumemchagua kama wa Kenya, lakini sio kama wa Kikuyu.
Okay.
Akaingia tena Uhuru. Nilikuwa napinga Uhuru na Raila tukiwa pande ile. Hakuna siku nimesema Raila ndiye Uhuru akipigiwa kuna wa Kikuyu. Alipigiwa na wa Kenya na akashinda. Ameingia Ruto. Ruto hajasema mambo ya ukaleji ni pahala hata sehemu moja. Halafu hawa wanajifunza siasa. Wanataka kutuambia kwamba kutakuwa na watu yetu ya Wakamba, kunakuwa na watu yetu ya Wajaluo, kutakuwa na watu yetu. Tuache hii ukora ndogo, tuunganishe taifa letu. Tunataka Mkisii akija hapa
Yes.
past life you had will shock you. In past life, you were poisoned by your own sister in the 1800s.
Then eventually tufanye at the national level. Sindio? Sasa nyinyi wenye watachaguliwa, sio nyinyi. Ni wenye watachaguliwa, sindio? Nyinyi tuliwaita kama our ambassadors. So that twende turudi mashinani. Tukirudi mashinani tuelimisha wale wengine. Ukiangalia vile mmeelimishwa, kuna viongozi wa kidini, at least 3 religious leaders per polling station. Sababu tunataka chama ambayo itajumuisha kila mtu. Kutakuwa na youth representatives. Kuna representatives wa PWDs, of people living with disabilities. Kuna representatives wa mama, kuna representatives of the business community, na all the stakeholders wenye wako kwa kijiji, including our farmers. Tuko pamoja?
The rest not so high.
That core support system ndio itatuundia machinery ambayo itachaguana kwa ward, county, sub-county, all the way to the National Delegates Conference ambayo itachagua the party leader, deputy party leader, leader and the national officials who will now be elected. You know we have interim officials sababu hatujaifanya uchaguzi. Tunataka ikifikia mwaka ujao tukimaliza grassroots elections January 10 tutakuwa sasa tumemaliza in 20 counties, tutakuwa tumefanya in all the 47 counties because vile mlielezewa tulikuwa tumefanya in another 27 counties earlier in the year. Tukimaliza ya ward, sub county, county all the way to the NDC is a delegate system. Hawa delegates ambao tutachagua kwa the ward level ndio wataenda wachague ward naitwa nini, polling station level ndio watachaguana uchaguzi ya ward level. Wale watachaguliwa at the ward level ndio wataenda kuchaguana sub county ama constituency level. Wale tutachagua in the 12 constituencies or sub counties ndio watafanya uchaguzi ya county. Now the counties together will now meet and elect in the National Delegates Conference the national party officials, ili chama chetu iwe inafuata sheria vile inasema, tusiwe na interim officials peke yake, tuwe na elected party officials. La pili, maana ya kuwa na elected officials, mnajua si 2027 inakaribia. Per polling station president atahitaji agents per polling station, si ndio? Yule anasimama kiti ya MCA atahitaji agents. We want by 2027 wale watachaguliwa per polling station, they will also form the bedrock of our party support base to form our party agents for the presidential vote, for governor seats, senators, women rep, MPs and MCAs. Ili wale viongozi wetu wote tutachagua, tutakuwa na a very loyal team of party members and party supporters who will guard our vote in 2027. Wale ambao hatakuwa agents ndio hatakuwa mobilizers wetu per polling station. We therefore want to create a movement, a national movement, but one that starts from the grassroots, because we said our party UDA is a party that believes in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, but also bottom-up politics. Even our political organization is from the bottom going. Atekia magito togire ne kia bottom up. Tutikwajereria na iguru, tukwajereria haria thi. Nikyo turenda twajereria ithurano guku thi mashinani, polling station cukuru haria wikagiria kura, tuthure andu 20 mathie mathurane wodi, aria meguthurwo wodi mathie constituency, tuthie uguo nginya the national elections iria tugekira hi Kasarani kana Nyayo Stadium, andu hakuhe 5,000 kana 6 mathure national party officials. Sababu hata huyu Nyakundi yako hapa anachunga pesa yetu na anafanya kazi mzuri, lakini yeye ni treasurer, national treasurer, lakini they are holding office on interim basis. Tuko pamoja watu wetu. Kuguo.
All right, guys. So when you listen to the politics of these people, actually, what is the difference between the opposition and the government? It's just like people in, as we always say, monkeys in different forests, but possibly playing the same game. If it's football, it's football. So it has become so difficult for Kenyans to understand the politics of the day, and sometimes they opt to get to desperation, and that's why maybe they vote based on their stomachs or any other thing, pockets and what have you. The reality is that both the opposition currently and the government are just talking in the same language. The difference is very minimal. You look at Kalonzo Musyoka in his presentation on Sunday, and then you look at Gachagua on the presentation he did. In fact, last week he had almost 5 presentations. And personally, as a critic and reactionist on this channel, I don't see the difference. But you can drop a comment if you think otherwise. Because as for me, one of them is proving a point of having done, while the other one is opposing not having done. None of them is telling us what they should do. And even when our president tells us that he's going to move us to Singapore, then you get back to understand that years ago, actually the president of Kenya had to lend Singapore around 1,000 USD, then you get mixed up because you don't understand what you're talking about. And the reality is that it's very rare for you to jump from 1 to 4. Very rare. So Fanbase, what are you saying? You've said something there. Yeah, so I just appreciate you people for always coming to the channel and contributing to the discussion. But I just find everything very funny. When you see me doing an analysis and listening to the speeches these people give, Kimani Chungwa has been one of the vocal people speaking for the government all the time. And what he's doing, he's trying so much to embrace the fact that the government is going to create changes, and the government has to win in 2027. So you heard during his speech all through, he was trying to prove a point that they have to have the bottom up. And I was like, bottom up is something that failed. Why is Kimani Chungwa still holding on to it? I thought they are supposed to come up with something else. But the wheelbarrow narrative, it's not a good narrative for most of us Kenyans, because as far as they promise that Kenyans will now have a bottom-up economy, when I look at the bottom-up economy, look at me here. I'm trying to market books. And I started during the Kenyatta time, and even currently, okay? And to tell you the reality, since the government started its task, people have very great challenges that they don't want to spend money just carelessly. People are taking a lot of initiative to spare what they have because they don't feel like money will come in so easily. And even when they work and they are paid, that money becomes so small that they feel they can't spend it. Can you imagine, like, people have to bargain even for goods they never used to bargain on. You see the liquidity in the country is just too much. I don't know how about you and what you feel, but that's my reality. Let's listen to Kimani Chungwa after skipping some points and see what he said. Then we'll be stepping in to talk about Sudan.
No, natuoka njurano cia Kenya. Mimi niwaambie. Tukisema tutamkiambu. Na nilisema jana, kwa mapenzi ya Mwenyezi Mungu, kwa hiari ya kura zenyu na mapenzi yenyu na kuangalia utendakazi, mimi naona 2027 Kiambu tukatakuwa majority votes kwa William Ruto term ya pili kama rais wa Kenya. Niko kana tikuwa. Inyoni mbona huko? Na sisemi hayo sababu William Ruto ni rafiki yetu. Sisemi hayo sababu mimi ni majority leader wa William Ruto. Nasema hayo sababu nimeona na naona ile mipango William Ruto ako naye kwa watu wa Kiambu.
Now, when Kimani Chungwa comes to say that he's actually defending the government because of what he's seeing in 2027 and the plans that are ahead for Kiambu, what does he mean? If this is not an aspect of actually supporting somebody because of the favors you are receiving, is he really looking at the rest of Kenya? He's not. Is he really looking into factors that are going to benefit the entire nation and the citizens? Not at all. He's just looking at what will benefit Kiambu. And then when Kalonzo stands to speak about maybe Machakos and what have you, then people say he's tribal. When Gachagua stands to speak about some places, he said he's tribal. But anyway, those are the politics of Kenya. But if you understand them, then you should be able to know what that means. So let's get to the other part of our analysis. We need to move a bit fast. Museveni talked about, let's see. So let's talk about Museveni and how he's addressing the Sudanese people, because the Sudanese people actually want to identify themselves more as Arabic people, Arabians. But then Museveni is telling them not to. So let's check at this.
This
this I have not seen only in Uganda. Sudan here, your Sudan, was broke up by this problem. Because your people in the north, they said they were Arabs. When you look at them, you try to see how Arab they are, you don't see it. You say a black man saying he's an Arab. But I don't see you Arab is, no, I am an Arab. Okay, that's your problem. I remember we tried to negotiate, to mediate. John Garanga, I was involved in that. Why do you insist on your identity at the expense of other people? Why don't you make as identity is concerned? I remember one time I gave them the exam, cubicles. Cubicles are small rooms where students 2 or 3 stay. But then they have a common room where they gather. There are things they can do in their cubicle, but which they should not do in the common room here. The common room should be for the radio, for the TV. It's not our common interest, but the issue of identity eventually broke up the Sudan. In fact, in one of the meetings, we did IGAD. We put it to Field Marshal Bashir. Which is secular, which does not talk about your religion and your tribe, talks about all Sudanese. Or you allow the Southerners to go away. It was called self-determination. And Bashir chose the latter. Said, let them go. I cannot compromise on my identity. So this misuse of identity is a very big poison. But the second problem, yes, in some cases, identity can be important. Like in the case of the Sudan. Because in 1961, when I went to the secondary school, I met youth from South Sudan who were in Uganda as refugees. And I asked them, why are you running away? They said the Arabs are killing us. They don't allow us to speak our language. They don't allow us to practice our culture. I was mobilized. I was so angry. Who can stop me from speaking my language? Who can do it? You are looking for trouble to stop me to speak my language? Who are you? Are you God? So from that time I knew that there was a problem of identity in the Sudan. And it had to be solved. It could have been solved, but they didn't solve it. In South Africa, we had a problem of identity.
So when you listen to Museveni, Museveni is actually giving a very important point here. The fact that it's very important for you to identify yourself as a certain person, right? But then it's wrong actually to push that narrative when it's not necessary. Especially when you realize you are using your identity in divisive matters. So Museveni came up to speak about matters of identity in Sudan. If you've been serious about checking on matters Sudan, of course Sudanese crisis and the civil war that has been there for years has been as a result of having the leaders really interested in either being Arab or the other. So at the war that has not ended for years in Sudan, you will understand that identity crisis is one of the mistakes that ever happened in Sudan. The fact that some people wanted Arabic way while others wanted the Acholi way. So when the Acholi plus the rest chose the Acholi and the rest way with Christianity, well, the Arabs now focused on maybe the Muslim culture and, those kind of things, including even what they eat. Actually, there was an argument between eating ugali, sorghum, and the rest of it, and eating rice. If you read the books written by Sudanese people, you'll understand this thing. Because I've done literature from Sudan and I understand what is being talked about here. So identity is not bad, but when we use it for the wrong purposes, it becomes the worst thing we ever experienced. And that is the same thing that happened in Rwanda and currently happening in Congo possibly. And even partly Nigeria, right? Yeah, so let's look at something else. Of course, in Kenya, we have already started campaigns with the forthcoming election, all right? And we've seen a lot that is going on, including our president. Let's see what he said in Kiambu, Gatundu North yesterday. Jamal loves, I don't know what you're talking about. You should be looking for whoever is handsome here. A man here that you're calling somebody handsome here. Excuse me, Jamal. Some of you I don't just understand. Because you've come out, the messages you are dropping are not suitable for this channel at all. Jamal. You know, I don't like it. Anyway, let's proceed with our own political reaction.
Gatukoyo na Gakoe pia aweke lami hapo town. Ndio hapo ikae kama town ya kisasa. Ni mnanielewa? Haya, tulikubaliana na niliwaeleza kwamba tutakuwa na mpango mpya. Ile inaitwa affordable housing. Watu wengi hawakuamini ya kwamba inawezekana. Lakini mimi nawatangazia leo Kiambu tunajenga soko 30 kama hii. Soko ngapi? Soko ngapi? Tumeweka pesa ya serikali shilingi bilioni 4.5 Kiambu County peke yake. We are building the largest market infrastructure in Kiambu County. Hakuna serikali ni Kiambu. Ni hii serikali nyinyi na mimi tuliunda. Na hii soko yenu hii kufikia mwezi wa 3 nitakuja hapa kufungua, muingie ndani muendelee na kazi. Tuko tayari? Mko tayari? Hapa kulikuwa na wafanyabiashara 600. Nimeambiwa na mama mmoja anaitwa Sara. Yeye ndio chairperson wa soko. Huyu mama hapa anaitwa Sara. Sasa nimemwambia Sara, hii soko sasa inaweza kuchukua wafanyabiashara 1500. So iko nafasi ya kutosha. Kila mtu alete mambo ya kuuza. Ndio tuweze kupanua uchumi wa sehemu hii, Kenya iweze kusonga mbele. Hapa Gatundu North tunajenga hii soko ya Kamwangi, tunajenga soko ingine Kanyoni, tunasenga soko ingine kule Gatukuyu. Tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba dunia hii iweze kwenda wapi? Iweze kusonga mbele. Tumeelewana jamani? Pia siku hizi imekuwa na jam kutoka pale GSU mpaka kule Nairobi pale museum hii. Pia hapo nimetangaza juzi, next year tunakuja kuweka expressway. Ndio watu wa Kiambu wasikuwe na jam wakati wanaenda Nairobi, watu wa kutoka Thika, watu wa kutoka sehemu zingine za Kenya, ndio Kenya hii iweze kubadilika. Nyinyi mnanielewa watu wa Kiambu? Tuendelee na kazi ama mnataka tuletewe fitina? Tuendelee. Sasa sikizeni. Unajua nimetangaza juzi
ya kwamba tuko na mpango ya kutengeneza kilomita 28,000 ya barabara. Nimesema barabara ile ya reli kutoka Naivasha mahali Mheshimiwa Uhuru aliwachia, mimi sasa nasukuma iende Kisumu mpaka Malaba na inaanza Januari. Nimesema pipeline ile Moi alijenga akamalizia kule Eldoret, sasa nasukuma inaenda mpaka inapita Uganda iende mpaka DRC, na hiyo pia inaanza next year. Sasa nikasikia mtu mwingine hapo akasema ati hiyo maneno yote Ruto anasema haiwezekani. Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa Kiambu, si ndio? Si walisema masoko haiwezekani? Soko ndio hii ama si iko hapa? Si walisema affordable housing haiwezekani?
All right, guys. So the president is just trying to prove a point. Do you agree that Kenya has actually moved to the right tracks? It's getting to the right direction, that the unexpected has happened, and that you are glad that the president is doing what is right? Or do you still feel that there are some gaps? Do you also feel that we are being cheated too, or is it actually correct? You know, sometimes you have to sit down and analyze. Of course, Ruto was directing his speech towards the opposition. We've had Kalonzo speaking, we've had Gachagua speaking. So Gachagua and Kalonzo have been actually against what the government is doing. They have not been coming out clearly to say why, but sometimes they say that they are lies, sometimes they say the money being used is not supposed to. So up to now, I can't actually put one and one together and actually tell you what the government has fully done and what is wrong or what is right. But the reality is that the economy has not really resurrected. The reality is also that we need to have ideologies that move forward based on the demands of the citizens. Okay? Anyway, in our video, we wanted also to talk about something else I should cover here. You can still see I have a flu. I'm really struggling still, but I've covered already the two parts of the my video. So let's get to Pierre Lumumba's speech and understand what he holds as ideologies against those who are currently maybe there, and see whether we can make sense of what he was saying. So this was the speech he gave recently. I don't know how you consider this speech.
They are beginning to rise up, and I think that those who have not smelled the coffee will be surprised. They'll be surprised when the ground moves from under their feet. They'll be surprised when Africa begins to elect individuals who can demonstrate that they have ideas, because the politics of the 21st century is the politics of ideas and about competition of ideas. And therefore, when one is appointed into any public office because of the demands of the electorate, and this relationship between the African member of parliament or the African president and the electorate is a symbiotic relationship. It is symbiotic in a very perverse manner. And I suspect I'm misusing the word symbiotic, but I'll use it or misuse it nevertheless to the extent that it explains my point. What happens is that it appears that the electorate has allowed the so-called leader, because many of them are misleaders, to remain in their positions of power and to acquire as much as they can, on the understanding that periodically their loot will be shared with them. It is some kind of Robin Hoodism of a latter-day kind. And this Robin Hood kind of politics is a little bit different, at least from my understanding. Robin Hood robbed the rich in order to share with the poor. But our latter-day African Robin Hoods are in the business of robbing from the poor in order to give a pittance to the very poor.
All right, guys. So that is the point that I actually had to listen to while Patrice Lumumba was sharing. The reality is that when you look at the housing, the universal care and all that, we are being robbed, some of us. We feel so because our pay slips are already thin. We even feel like we are overworking ourselves at a very low pay. Look at the teacher, for example, the police, and maybe many other civil servants. we don't have enough even to make our life comfortable so that we are able to pay fees, live in good houses, and drive vehicles. You find that if somebody has a vehicle, maybe they don't have a good house, or if they have a good house, they don't have a vehicle, or if they have a house and a vehicle, they don't have school fees for their kids. Something must be missing somewhere. But now when you look at the decision by the government to actually deduct or thin our pay slips in terms of allowing us to help the rich, not the rich but very poor, it's a very funny philosophy, because from what I learned, Robinson Foundation, or rather philosophy, was to take from the rich and give to the poor. You cannot tell me in Kenya civil servants like teachers and the police are very rich. They are not. They are actually people who are just in the middle class struggling with life. If this had to be well considered, maybe they should have considered politicians and people are earning in terms of 200,000 and more. At least, maybe they have enough money. But when you come to a teacher who is earning 30,000, 40,000, or even 50, is that enough to actually allow the deductions? It doesn't sound okay. But anyway, let's continue to listen as we come to almost the end of our discussion.
Talking about today when we talk about commercialization. So that if you ask any typical African politician, how much does it cost you to be elected into parliament, they'll tell you it is in the millions. It is in the millions, and the millions they spend is perhaps 10 times more than they'll ever earn through their legitimate salaries. And I ask myself, if your salary in 5 years is going to be 1 billion Ugandan shillings, why should you spend 5 billion Ugandan shillings to get into that office? There must be something that we do not see, but you see, and I know what it is. What it is that getting into the office of the Member of Parliament, or indeed any other political office in Africa, is a guarantee that things will come. So that in many African countries...
Yeah. So the point that Pierre Lumumba is trying to say, that politics has become one of the bargaining grounds for someone getting from zero to hero. Actually, someone can simply get from nothing to something in politics. And that is why you realize that politics have become very dangerous, very risky, with people actually fighting all over the place, because it also affords people luxurious lifestyle. You can afford a posh vehicle, a classic house, state-of-art vehicle, and the best life possible. Most of our politicians have their children studying abroad, UK, Canada, America, name the rest of the countries. They don't even go through our own system of education. They go through GCSE, an international system. And once their children finish elementary studies, they go abroad and study from there. But what about the teachers? Their children sometimes even go to the same public schools where they are teaching. And if they can try, they take them to private schools around the homes. And they bargain a lot over fees, sometimes training, sometimes delaying on paying, being called by the directors, you know. So teachers are not living that posh life. Some of them don't have cars. They go on foot, at work, or border borders, which is not the best life. You can actually start robbing from this person to construct a house for another poor person. How do you use a poor person to build another very poor person? It doesn't make sense, right? But anyway, that is the reality in Kenya. So let's finish this by checking on more talk from PL. And thank you so much for watching my video. Like, comment, and drop a like.
The politician is the gatekeeper. The politician is the one who receives the guests. He is the tax collector informally, aside from the URA. And in this regard, therefore, we must commercialize politics. We may blame the politicians. What about the electorate? The electorate also is to be blamed. The electorate has insatiable thirst and hunger for things that they have not worked for. They have been trained and they no longer listen to ideas. good friend Norbert Mao, who I was told was here, I do not know whether he is. He is here. Will tell you, not that I have talked to him this morning, but he'll tell you that one of the pains that one has to endure when you confront your typical African electorate is to convince the electorate that ideas count for something. Many times when you address the electorate and you are waxing eloquent, telling them, when I'm elected, I'm going to ensure that we have good health services. We are going to ensure that we have good schools. We are going to ensure that we create opportunities for innovation and invention and create opportunities for young men and women. They are waiting for you to finish. They will tell you, we hear you. We know you are going to do all those beautiful things. But in the intervening period, I must eat. And therefore, no matter how beautiful your ideas are, if you don't carry money on that day, your ideas, like the elephant before them, will never fly. Leaders who, upon ascending to power
you had
in
that,
Africa,
right?
became dem.
You had that. And what PL is saying is very true. Currently in Kenya, if you're going to any place to campaign and talk to the citizens, if you don't have something you're carrying, you are wasting your time, because our politicians have learned that possibly they have to keep giving some little kickbacks to the citizens. And so what they are doing, they are giving them, and they trust that once they give, they'll get it. And somehow, some of them do it and get it. So what Pierre Lumumba is saying is not actually a lie, it's true, right? Yeah, the reality about the politics of Kenya is that most voters are much of entrepreneurs. They vote because they have been given something. You'll find an old lady saying, oh, I'm voting for so-and-so because at least I've eaten his rice, I've at least planted maize from him, and all that. And that is why politicians have learned in Kenya to actually